Welcome back everyone. In this tutorial we will be working with the details view in our website. In the last tutorial, we showed a list view of our client data on our website. In this tutorial, we will display the details of a specific client from that list view. So in the last tutorial we worked on this list view. Now we will see how to click on a specific data from this list view and see the details info of the clicked client. You all have already understood that for a new page we have to do three things. First we have to define the URL, then define a function in the views file and finally create an HTML page, right? So now I'm going to define a URL for our details view page. For my convenience, I'm copying the previous URL statement. So here, let's change the register text to client. And then to pass an integer value inside angle brackets with a / right int::pk. Here pk stands for primary key. Now similarly write client for views. And finally, write name equals client. So, the URL statement we wrote here will actually represent something like localhost:8000. Then, /client/id. Here ID is basically the client primary key. So this is exactly how the URL will be called in the browser. Now let's define a function called client in the views.py file. So let's create a function called client. Okay, type def client. Now, as usual, pass the request parameters in parentheses along with the primary key pk. We need to pass this primary key because we will retrieve the details info of a specific client. If you go to your URLs file, you will see that I have passed pk as an integer value here. So since we will only show client details to users who are already logged in, that's why we will use an if statement to check the user's login authentication status. So type if request.user.is_authenticated. If it is an authenticated user, we will show that user the data of a specific client on our details page. If you want to implement this kind of logic, it's a good idea to get into the habit of writing some comments. I encourage everyone to write comments. These comments are very useful when projects become very large and complex and many developers are involved. Now let's declare a variable called client_record. And assign a specific client ID from the client object. Here, by ID we mean the client's primary key. Notice here that we have defined object.get in our client function. And I defined object.all inside the home function. So this object.all basically retrieves all the client data from the database as objects. And here object.get is basically retrieving data from a specific client. If we take a look at the file that was created during the migration, the matter will become more clear. Here you see the ID field defined as the primary key. Now I hope the matter is completely clear to all of you. Now let's take the authenticated user to the client details page using the return render statement. Here I am declaring a page named client.html to display client details which I will create inside the template folder. Then, inside the curly brackets, we will pass our client record variable, which is carrying the full details of a specific client. So far we've been working with the if statement. Now we need an else statement because if the user isn't authenticated, we need to redirect to the home page. Right? First, let's show a message to those who are not authenticated users. So type message.success, then inside the parentheses write request, then write a message with a comma. In this case, I am writing a message with, you have to log in. Now, as I said before, I will redirect the home page to the unauthenticated user. Now let's create an HTML page in the template folder called client.html. We will show the client's detailed info on this page. So before that, let's copy the extend tag and block content tag from the home page and paste it on the client page. Don't forget to end the block. Let's write client info with the h1 tag and check whether everything we did is working properly or not. So let's type client in the address bar of the web browser after port 8000 followed by a / and then enter a client ID followed by a / again. In this case, I am putting 1 as the client ID. Great. Our desired page is showing now. Now let's log out and check again and see if our else statement is working properly or not. We again type client/1 after port 8000 in the browser's address bar and then hit enter. Look, the message we gave in the else statement is showing. Great. So our logic is working properly. I logged in again and typed client/1 in the address bar in the same way and hit enter. Okay, perfect. Everything is working fine so far. Now let's move forward. Let's find a way to show the client details according to our plan. We will now use the variable we declared in the views file called client record. Just put the client record variable in the client page with the Django tag. Let's check if we are getting the desired output. Wow! Our desired output is showing. Great. Notice here that the client ID is 1 in the browser's address bar. Now if we change the client ID to 2, we will see another output. Look, John's details are now showing. Great. Let's work on some more details. Let's go to the URLs file first. As you already know, we are passing the ID of a client to get its details. So, in the client list that we are showing on our home page, we need to use a clickable link so that the user can click on that link to see the details of a specific client from the client list and see the client details on the client page. So in this case I will make the name field clickable, so I am using the ahref tag here. Similarly, you can make any other field clickable if you want. As you can see here, from this client list, we want to click on a specific name to view the details of that client. This is our plan for now. Let's add a hashtag to the href tag and check if our name field is clickable or not. Refresh the web browser and notice the change. Notice that the name field now shows an underline, so it has now become a clickable link. A URL is showing with a hashtag in the bottom left corner of the window. Now let's replace the hashtag with the Django tag and define our URL inside it. So inside the Django tag, type URL, then inside the quotation marks with a space, type client, as we defined in the urls.py file. I also passed the client ID in the urls.py file, so I am passing the client ID here as well. Now it's time to check. Let's see if it's working properly. Refresh the browser, then click on a client's name. Great. It's working perfectly. Look, Tanvir's details are showing here. Now let's see if John's details show or not. Now I'll click on John's name. Great. Here we are also seeing John's details. Notice here that the client's default data is being shown as we defined it in the model class. Now let's display the data as per our needs. For the convenience of our work, let's copy this code from the home page and move it to the client page. Paste the copied code here. Now let's remove the ahref tags. I also delete the td tags. It would be good to do line alignment. Now replace the client variable with the client record variable. Let's take advantage of copy-paste again. We don't need to put the client record tag here, so remove it. I hope you understand where the client record variable comes from. We declared it here inside the client function in the views file. Now let's check what data is shown on our website regarding client details. First, refresh the browser, then click on the name of the client whose details we want to see. Great, the data is showing. Now let's format the data a little so that it's easier for us to see. Just add a break tag after each field. Let's take advantage of copy-paste again. Actually, this copy-paste thing is very useful. Now let's check again to see what our final output looks like. Just refresh your web browser and see the change. Great. Now it looks much cleaner than before. Right? Okay. That's it for now. We'll go deeper in the next tutorial. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe. Because more real-life project tutorials on machine learning, AI, deep learning, data analysis, and data engineering are coming very soon. Thank you for now. See you in our next tutorial.